Okay, so we're going down the trail. Everything's good. Everything's in good shape. Everybody, what, bum has a fever? Okay, now back on track. Everyone better? Everyone healthy this time? What, Yuck has measles? Boo has dysentery? What's going on over here? Is this like a plague ship or something? How do you get so sick riding in a wagon? Yuck has a broken arm? What's the matter with you, Yuck? First measles, now a broken arm? Are you so fragile or something? Now Dumb has measles? Did he get it from Yuck? Now what? Bum has cholera? Yuck has a broken leg? Again? How do you get a broken leg just sitting in the wagon? Yuck, you promised me you'd stay healthy. Okay, is everyone good now? Is everyone healthy? We're back on track. Everything's good. We're all good, right? Oh, wild fruit. Hey, Yuck, don't eat that. Come on. What are you doing? Yuck has died? No, Yuck! I can't believe it. You survived the measles, the broken leg, the broken arm, and now you died because of eating some wild fruit? What am I going to tell your mother? I can't believe I took you with me on this trip. No! Stu's Reviews! Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Stu's Reviews. The game I have here today is called the Oregon Trail, and I'm sure almost everybody has heard of this game. It's quite famous. This one here is one of the earliest releases for the DOS platform. It would be the earliest release, except this one comes with both 5¼ and 3½ inch discs, and the very earliest release, which is identical in all other ways, as far as I can tell, only came with the 5¼ inch discs. But this is a cool cover showing sort of a prospector, explorer, showing a kid the game. It looks like on an IBM, although not quite sure. It's hard to tell from the picture. But in any case, it says here, load up your covered wagon and cross the wide frontier to the Pacific Northwest. It's a pioneering adventure for the whole family. And here's some screenshots showing, first screenshot there, you're in the town of Independence, and then here you're actually traveling down the Oregon Trail. So the idea here, as it says, is walk in the footsteps of 19th century pioneers. The Oregon Trail is an award-winning discovery learning simulation that lets you experience life on the American frontier. What was it like to leave home and cross the rugged, unfamiliar territory to Oregon in a covered wagon? Playing the part as a carpenter, banker, or farmer, basically that just determines how much money you have, you'll make life or death decisions for yourself and your family just as the pioneers did. The 2,000-mile journey is long and difficult, but the promise of a better life will keep you going. What kind of supplies will you need? If you run out of rations, will you be able to get more? You face storms, wild animals, broken equipment, sickness, hunger, and thirst without giving up? Or will you die of dysentery like the meme that came out of this game? So it's pretty cool. And it says here, if you look at it, it's interesting. It says, for more than 15 years, children and adults all over the world have enjoyed using MEC educational software. Now, this particular release came out in 1986, and MEC is the Minnesota Educational Consortium, which published this game. And what they're saying here is that this has been going on for more than 15 years from 1986, which would put this around 1971. And that's actually accurate because the Oregon Trail originally was published on mainframe computers. Then it was ported to the Apple II, and then finally to the PC. So even though this PC version came out in 86, it's actually a much older game that dates back to the early 70s, and that's why I'm showcasing it now.
In the middle 70s, MEC was instrumental in delivering timeshare services to the state of Minnesota schools. Schools were able to rent or purchase teletypes and dial in via acoustic couplers, dial in the phone, plug it into the coupler, and we're able to access the computer. They all shared the computer, thus time sharing. Oregon Trail was a very simple program. Oregon Trail was all text.
Imagine now that you are going to go on a hunting scene in the Oregon Trail. You don't have any graphics. All you can do is be told that there's a deer running across the screen, and I shouldn't say screen, running across the scene. How do you shoot? You shoot by typing B-A-N-G, return.
Good eating tonight. That was the response if they really had successfully typed bang for the hunt. Otherwise, they would go hungry.
Of course, with the teletype machine, the only auto feedback you received was when the print head typed, "Good eatin' tonight." But beyond that, the program didn't provide any sound.
Here's what's in the box. This envelope here had the discs inside, saying, basically make sure you want to open this, otherwise you can't return it. There's a 5¼ inch disc as promised. There's also 3½ inch disc, which again was the main difference between this. That's why it says version 1.1 and not 1.0. And there's instructions here how to boot up the disc. There's a registration card. Unfortunately, I'm missing the main manual that tells you how to play the game, so I had to figure it out for myself. It's hard to get a manual for this early release. If somebody has one and would like to sell it to me or donate it, please let me know. It did come with this catalog, though, of other mech games, Word Numbers, Number Munchers, World Geograph, all educational titles, but none of them really anywhere near the same level of interest or popularity as the Oregon Trail. So let's put this on and see what it looks like. Now, this original release of the Oregon Trail for DOS was only supported CGA graphics. In order to really see how that works properly, you need to use a special SVN-LFN version of DOSBox, where LFN stands for long file names. When you load the game up, you get a few options: travel the trail, learn more about it, etc., etc. For this purpose, I'm just going to go ahead and travel the trail. And then when you travel the trail, you have a few options. You can be a banker, a carpenter, or a farmer. The banker gets the most money and it's the easiest to play as, although if you choose a harder option, you'll get more points at the end. But who really cares about points? So I'm just going to be a banker. Now this is sort of the ugly, quote-unquote, CGA graphics. This is what you'd see if you have a basic monitor with a CGA card, especially if you use a modern computer. But these graphics are actually designed for a composite CGA monitor, and this DOSBox allows you to switch to composite mode by hitting Control F11. And that's the reason why I'm using the special version of DOSBox, the long file name version, which supports CGA properly. You can also switch back and forth between old style monitors and new style monitors, and you can change the hue as well, the colors, try to get to a color that you think is what they're aiming for if you're not really sure what the color is supposed to be. So you see here I played with the colors quite a bit until I got to a point where I liked it, where I thought maybe this is what they're looking for. The guy's brown pants and the girl's a green dress. But ultimately you can get some pretty nice colors there with this composite CGA. And I picked Yuck, Dumb, Boo, and Bum as my other party members. If anybody knows what that's from, you get some extra credit. Now the next thing to do is to decide when you're going to leave and go to the Oregon Trail. Now the manual instructions will tell you that if you leave too early, then you can run into bad weather, but I found that you should leave as early as possible, otherwise you're liable to get stuck at bad weather at the end of the game and basically lose, so I'm going to pick March. So the next step here is to buy stuff for your trip, and you need to buy all sorts of stuff: oxen, food, spare parts, clothing, ammunition. Really the most important things are the spare parts when your wagon breaks down, and the food, because you're going to eat lots of food on this trip. And then ammunition, because once your food runs out, you can actually hunt with bullets if you buy enough ammunition. So that's basically the basics here. But as a banker, you have basically plenty of money, and there's no reason to worry about running out of anything. Once you're done with that, you'll start off in the town of Independence, where you'll see the composite CGA graphics are rather quite nice. There are a lot of these really nice scenes throughout the game. Each of them has their own little tune from some kind of American folk song of the time period. There are a lot more scenes like that in the game. All right, so now that we're getting started here, there's a couple options you can set when you're going down the trail. You see here it says your pace is steady, the rations are filling. You can change your food rations to be filling, meager, or bare bones. I selected meager. Supposedly if you give more food, they'll get less sick, I think, but also maybe if you stuff them too much, they'll get sick. It also seems like they get sick no matter what, and they get a lot of food. And also the pace. So steady goes pretty slow, strenuous a little bit faster. Again, that might be a little bit more taxing on the people, but I found it's a little bit better to do it that way. So I've been toggling these a little bit back and forth throughout the game, depending on the situation. And then here's where you see most of the game takes place. You see your ox pulling the cart down the road, and you can see exactly how far it is to the next landmark. You can see what's going on. You see a broken wagon wheel and different blizzard, all these different things going on. And you just got to sort of wait it out until the next landmark you get to. Now, when you get to landmarks, you can do things like try to trade, or you can talk to people. Sometimes it's interesting to talk to people and see what they have to say. So I do here. I think this guy gives you actually some good information. Don't try to ford a river deeper than the wagon bed, about 2.5 feet. Usually when you get to a river, you have a choice between trying to ford it or caulk the wagon, or in some cases like this one, you can pay a ferryman. Now, if you have a banker and you have lots of money, you might as well pay the ferryman and take the ferry across. It also takes a little bit of time, but generally it's worth it. And then you get a nice seat of you taking the ferry. The ferry's not always available, though. Sometimes you have to do other things like float the wagon across or just try to ford it. But this is an example of just breaking up some of the monotony in the game. And then we just go back along to the regular picture where this is where everything takes place, just walking along to the next obstacle. And this is basically most of the game. As you go along, you want to pay attention to your health of your party. There it said it has a fever, the bum has a fever, but regardless of that, you want to pay attention to the health. And since there's no doctors in this place, there's no medicine or nothing like that, the only way you can get anybody to get better is by resting. So I'm resting a number of days just to see if my health will improve. And basically that's all you can do. So you waste a lot of time that way, but it's either that or your party just dropping dead continuously as you go through the game. Now here I'm about to come to another river crossing where there's no ferry. Therefore I have to make a decision of what I want to do here. So you'll see that I have to cross the river, and the river depth is 2.7 feet. Thanks to the advice I got, I sort of wait, and now it's only 2.5 feet, and now I can attempt to ford the river, which is what I'm going to do. So if you try to do something like ford the river and the river's too deep, you basically overturn your wagon, you lose everything. In this case, because the river's only 2.5 feet, I was able to get across safely, although my supplies did get wet. You can't really get away with this game without something bad happening. And that's basically how this game goes. You plod along, keep your eye on your health, rest if necessary, but eventually you're going to run out of food, and that's where the hunting minigame comes in. Now, the hunting minigame is sort of fun, but I don't really understand it, to be honest. So you get to walk around the room here. You shoot a buffalo, which dies with one single bullet, which I find really hard to believe, honestly. And then actually I'm walking around. Okay, there's a deer. Let me get that deer also if I can. Got the deer. One shot, kill. Don't bother with the rabbit. None of these animals seem to want to hurt you or anything like that. You're just going around just killing them for apparently close to no reason, I guess to get food. But, I mean, they're not hurting you or harming you or endangering you in any way. And then to add insult to injury, no matter how much meat you actually get, you only can carry 100 pounds back to the wagon. So you're basically going out in a murderous killing spree, killing all these animals. You can only take 100 pounds of meat back. And why is that? Like, why can't someone else help you carry the meat? Or why can't you go back for multiple trips? Like, how far away is the wagon from the meat anyway? I just don't get that at all. But anyway, that's the weird way this game works. And therefore, if you want more meat, you got to go back and do some more hunting. Now, you can also buy more food when you get to a fort. Just keep in mind the price of food goes up consistently as you move further west. So it's 20 cents a pound when you start, and it ends up being like $1 a pound or something like that at the end. You can also look at your map to see where you've been, where you're going, which is a little break from the consistent picture of the ox walking along the trail. Now, eventually, despite your best efforts, your people will get sick, and some of them will die. I don't think there's really anything you can do to prevent that completely. Some of it's just luck. However, the popular meme of "you have died of dysentery" I don't think actually ever could appear in this game because it never says you anything. It's always the name of the person has gotten sick and then the name of the person has died. So that might be just sort of twisting a little bit of the text into making it a little bit into an urban legend. At the very end of the game, you get the choice between floating down the Columbia River, which is another mini game where you steer a raft, or paying to travel the Barlow Road. And since I was a banker with a lot of money, and I don't really like mini games that much anyway, I decided to just pay the stupid Barlow Road and get to the end of the game. And here I am, getting to the Willamette Valley and arriving in Oregon. Well, that certainly looks beautiful. Definitely worth making that trip all the way from Missouri. Wow, I'm going to build a nice house here and everything's going to be great. This is definitely worth it. Fortunately, one of my party members died, but what can you do? And I get some points now. Let's see how I got my points. So basically, my total is 1,823, which is not really very good. But then again, I took the easiest possible route. I got one of my people killed. I wasted a lot of money. But anyway, the bottom line is, this is a fun game. It only took me like about half hour to play all the way through it, and just really enjoyed it. You can play it over and over again, try multiple things. There's a lot of luck involved. Little kids enjoy this game. It's just a lot of fun. Now this is version 2 of the Oregon Trail, which supported EGA graphics. That really was the only difference, essentially. Aside from that, it's basically the same exact game, but if you want to play this on a more modern PC and see what the graphics really were intended to look like, this is the one to pick. So you can see this is what this scene really was supposed to look like, or at least what they did when they got more colors. The guy does have brown pants like I suspected, but the woman has a blue dress and the girl has a pink dress. So this is really the most authentic if you want to play on it today. Skipping ahead a little bit, you can see they recolored all these different scenes. Actually, I think they moved that guy with the gun from the left to the right, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, for the most part, all the pictures are exactly the same. The sound is exactly the same as well. It's still the PC speaker sound, but some of these graphics really look beautiful with the new EGA graphics. And again, it's probably a better option if you're not a complete purist and you want to play the earliest version. Now this is the deluxe version of the Oregon Trail, released in 1992. So you can see right away the graphics have been improved. I think now they're VGA. And the sound has been improved as well. It's no longer the PC speaker. You have other sounds here. And you'll see that the gameplay has also changed quite a bit, and not always for the better. So when you go ahead and start the game, one of the first things you'll notice is that you have more occupations aside from just the banker and the ones you had before, the carpenter, etc., the farmer. Now you have other ones with different perks, and the doctor, for example, the people are less likely to die during the trip. So I picked that one for this game because that was probably the hardest part of the last game, with people just dying all the time. But generally, you see the game is pretty much the same. Here, the interface has changed. It looks more like a spreadsheet. But aside from that, it's the exact same thing that you could do before. I just here it also helpfully tells you what's the maximum, which you didn't know before. I'm just buying pretty much everything again. Even the doctor has a lot of money. Again, you have the same choice about when to start. And then when you actually start the game, you'll see that the window is really broken up quite a bit, so that on the top, in the middle there on the left side, you sort of see where you are, and that's where you'll also see the picture of the wagon going down the road. You have buttons this time to select your pace, but other than that, it's the same as before. But if you look at this, I find that even though you have a lot of information on the screen, you can see the map, you can see all the buttons, you can see your health, you can see your status, it's really very cluttered, and the actual interesting part of the information, which is the picture of you going down the road, is pretty darn small. I actually don't think that this adds to the game. I feel like it takes away from it. Yeah, you have higher resolution and you can show more things on the screen in VGA. Or maybe this is high quality EGA, I'm not even sure. But regardless, I find that this is not as appealing to me to play as the original game was, where you have sort of a full screen view of everything that's going on. Now here's the Windows version of the Oregon Trail, released in 1993. This game is basically exactly the same as the deluxe version of Oregon Trail, released a year earlier, except it's made for Windows. It's really the only difference for the most part. I mean, the interface pretty much looks exactly the same. You go ahead and you do the same thing in terms of selecting your occupation, selecting your party members, buying stuff from the store, etc. Now, the only really thing I noticed here is if you look at the bottom right, it says wagon weight overloaded. Now, I bought like almost everything there is to buy, but that never happened in any previous version. Now they're talking about wagons overloaded. And actually, when you try to actually travel with this overloaded wagon, you'll find that it keeps breaking constantly. Everything's breaking and you're falling apart.
and you have to keep fixing things. So what's the point of having extra supplies if your wagon's going to keep breaking? Can't you get like a sturdier wagon or something like that with your money? So I don't really get that. I feel like that's not a helpful addition to the game. It makes the game less fun rather than more fun. The other thing you'll notice is they keep showing you like making camp every single night and lighting a fire, and I feel like that's just like to waste time. Every single moment of travel now takes like 3 times as long as it did before. Your ox looks like it's walking slower. You have to light a fire every time. You see broken things because I'm overloaded, unfortunately. The picture looks like I hit a rock, but I think it's actually because the wagon is overloaded. But in any case, I don't think these changes are for the better. I think for the most part, they just sort of lose some of the charm of the games. I would definitely recommend playing either the original or the 2.0 DOS release that just uses slightly better graphics. So let's finish this video back where we started at the original DOS version of the Oregon Trail. And again, it's a fun game. Play it today. If you haven't played it before, try it out. Try it with your friends. Try it with your kids, perhaps, since it's supposed to be an educational game. But it's a lot of fun. Again, just try one of the DOS versions, one of the early ones, not the Deluxe, not the Windows. I feel like they really lost some of the charm. Hope you liked this video. If you did, please like, please subscribe, please share with your friends, please spread the word around, and please check out my other videos. I hope you have a great day, everybody, and try not to get sick while traveling down the trail.